thank you everyone for coming. So a little bit about me. My name is Shrenika Narayan, and I'm an acupuncturist in Oakland, and I also do muscle testing, which is also known as applied kinesiology. So I was curious, who has either kind of dabbled in muscle testing or done it with someone else? Okay, nearly everybody. That's great. Okay, so there's some familiarity with it. So today we'll be learning how to go about learning this skill. So some of you already kind of use it, but there's so many different ways to use muscle testing that it'll be nice to learn different methods. You know, some speak to people more than others, and some are easier to do for other people. So it's nice to know a few ways of doing it. Just a little bit about me. So I've been an acupuncturist for 21 years now. And I was, doing just fine as an acupuncturist, but then about 13 years ago, I started getting a health issue, a big kind of digestive issue. I was like gagging in the morning, and I didn't know what was causing it. And so I went to different types of practitioners, including, of course, Chinese medicine, and nothing was really helping it. So then, upon advice of a friend of mine, she said, go see this person who does muscle testing. I'd heard of muscle testing, but I thought it was like woo-woo and fake and all of that. But, I was getting desperate with my health issue, and I was like, okay, let me go. So I went to this woman up in Kotati. I drove an hour there, and in just like 5 minutes, she figured out what my issue was. And she said, you are ingesting some artificial sweetener, and it's creating problems in your liver, which is then becoming a problem in your stomach, and that's the issue, and take these supplements, you'll be better. And I was like, and also figure out where the artificial sweetener is coming from. So right away I thought, oh my gosh, what a hoax, because I don't do any artificial sweetener. I'm, a health practitioner. She knows nothing. But, I took the supplements and went home and looked at everything I was eating and doing. And sure enough, there had been this muscle milk. It was what it was called. It's a protein powder, and I had been doing that for about a year daily, just trying to bulk up, basically, after the gym. And the thing doesn't scream out at you, artificial sweeteners, but I thought that like legally they had to or something. But then I looked at the ingredients, and this small print, it said sucralose, and at the time I didn't even know what sucralose was, but basically sucralose is Splenda. And then I realized, oh my God, I've been poisoning myself with this daily for a year. No wonder why I've gotten this problem. And so of course I stopped that. I didn't even really need to take the supplements. It would have just worked out of my system, but the supplements got it out faster, and voila, I was sold. Not just to the point of believing in muscle testing, but realizing it's something I really wanted to do, and how much it could help people. Because, as an acupuncturist, of course, I'm helping a lot of people, but it's hard to find exactly what the cause is of things. So you just kind of hope, okay, once it's gone, it'll stay gone. But from my experience with the muscle milk, and then, after that, many clients after with muscle testing, I realized, well, there's a lot going on in, of course, our food, the air, all of it that we're being exposed to that's causing the epidemic of, chronic illness that we're seeing. Autoimmune diseases, they call it autoimmune, like our body just randomly turns on us. No, it's caused by some kind of toxicity, and there's so much out there, but the great part is muscle testing can really help find out what that is, identify what it is, and identify what to do about it. Some of these things are stuck in organs, and they don't just come out if you stop exposure. Like, they can stay for years and years. So you have to figure out, well, what exactly does a person need, like a targeted detox to get it out. Also, food sensitivities. We know the basics. Okay, sugar's not great. Wheat for a lot of people is not great. But then there's kind of finer points in there for people that, even if they do an elimination diet, they may still not be able to figure out what exactly it is that's causing their issues. So I use muscle testing to figure out, is there a major food sensitivity going on that people should know about? And then, of course, things like mineral deficiencies, fatty acid deficiencies, and it can be used in a wide variety of ways. Different practitioners use it for different things. You might see chiropractors using it to find out what is out, or, or subluxated, or a life coach using it to find out, well, what's the kind of main underlying kind of psychological block that's going on. It's a way to access kind of universal energy or the subconscious, and it's so useful for a lot of things. So, you know, we can all use it in the ways we see fit, whether it's at the grocery store and deciding, should I get this brand of something or this brand, or is this going to be good for me, or supplements, or even more questions like, is this person good for me, or should I buy this car? You know, it gets more out there. People can use it as they wish, you know, with whatever success. So we'll be going through some practical exercises that'll kind of sharpen our skills and give us different ways to muscle test. Jay was telling me that since we're filming today, if we can keep questions to the end of each section, we kind of are going section by section, that would be great. So, and I'll ask for them at the end of each section. All right, so let's first start with, you know, we're going to first start with self-testing, and most of what we're going to do is self-testing. At the end, we're going to learn how to muscle test each other. Self-testing is the easiest, but it's also kind of one of those things where you may not trust yourself because you're testing yourself after all, and you may think, well, how can I be objective when I have pulls here and there? And the main thing is you just have to practice, basically, and you'll start developing confidence in this method. So one way which I really like starting with is a pendulum. How many people have ever used a pendulum? Okay, about half. So if you brought either a pendant necklace or a pendulum here, if you can get that out, we're going to be starting with that. If you don't have one, I have some here. And just raise your hand. Okay, yeah. And then you can just pass this around, just kind of untangle them a bit. And then once with those unclip it so you can kind of hold it like that. So, do I have my pendulum? Okay. So I really like starting with the pendulum. I think it's a good beginner's way because it's a little bit outside of us. I mean, we're holding it, but it's a little bit outside of us. And basically, it gives pretty strong responses for most people right away. So, you know, the way to hold a pendulum, and if you have a necklace, that's fine. You just hold it here, have some, and it doesn't have to be like all pretty and all. It could just be this, like, just a weight here. That's fine. So, you know, in a pinch, you can use a plug, basically, even, because, you know, it has a string and a heavy thing at the end. So, okay, but basically, you can just kind of hold it still, and the way to start would be to ask, give me a yes, and then wait till you get some response, which may be a back and forth, it may be a this way, it may be clockwise, it may be counterclockwise. And once you have a pretty sure response of what is a yes, then kind of just still it and then ask what is a no. So let's go ahead and just start, and we can say it aloud or just internally is fine, but kind of tell the pendulum, hey, show me what a yes is, a yes response for me. Show me
Show me yes.
Nothing.
Nothing yet?
Okay, that's moving.
How many people are getting
Oh
nothing?
my God. Look,
Most people are getting something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
it's oscillating wildly.
Yeah. So for some people it may be, oscillating wildly. For some it may be just very subtle. For some people you might be like, I'm moving it, I don't want to move it, and then you'll kind of like almost stop it because you're so worried that, you know, you're the one moving it. Just get rid of those worries. Just let it be. Even if you kind of suspect you're moving it, it's fine. It's just kind of a common doubt that we have. You know, oh, I must be moving it. It must be my hand going like this. And don't worry about it. Just let it do its thing. And for each person, it may be different. For some people, it's like clockwise, front, back. It's fine, whatever it is. And then from there, if you have a pretty sure response on that, you can still it. And then ask, okay, what is a no, or show me a no.
Show me a no.
Okay. Did anyone not get a response? Most people are getting something. Okay,
Nice one.
great. So then we can start with, I put here packets of sugar and packets of kelp. So in general, sugar for our body, most bodies don't like it. And then kelp, most bodies interestingly do like it. So we can just use that as a somewhat surefire way of just kind of finding out, like, okay, you can take one packet of either one and say, is this good for my body? And if you remember what your yes response and no response was, just put it above it and then ask and see if you get a result. And as people are doing that, kind of getting clearer, responses with the kelp and the sugar, I'm going to pass out a variety of things that maybe yes or maybe no. We don't know, and it might depend on each person. Like some sesame seeds, some coffee. So go ahead and try these kind of perhaps yes, perhaps no's. Just see. The pendulums, I think the easiest way. I mean, you can see almost everyone got some response basically. So it's an easy in to muscle testing. So okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to the second type of muscle testing, which the up-down method. Okay, got it. This method, this is actually how I started. It wasn't the pendulum, but it kind of looks ridiculous, but I kind of find it works. So basically, I would take something and say, okay, well, actually, just start with what is yes and what is no. So kind of have your fingers together and then say, what is yes? And then, okay, my thumbs are still together, so that's a yes. And then what is no? And then, wow, there's a big difference. How did that even happen? I'm trying to touch them, but they're not touching. This thumb is out here, this hand is shorter. So that is another way of testing. I like it because it's obvious. It's usually like, oh, but everyone tends, likes different ones. So try this one out. Maybe get some space for yourself. Okay. All right, great. So the last two self-testing methods are the O-ring method and then the flick method. So O-ring, you may have seen this done. A lot of practitioners use O-ring. It goes pretty fast. I like this one to use too. You can put either this together or this together, one or the other, and then use your thumb in there. And then you're asking, show me a yes, show me a no. One is going, and you're going to put pressure on your thumb to be kind of breaking this circle. Just light pressure, doesn't have to be big. So what is yes? Okay, it broke. What is no? Okay, it held strong. Or vice versa. So it's just light pressure on your thumb, kind of to break this O-ring seal. And then, yeah, fine, do two circles is fine, yeah. The other one, even more, I think, advanced, I also kind of am like, ugh, but it's like the flick method. It's the easiest. It's it's the hardest, I think, but the easiest in terms of like you just need one hand and so you can kind of put pressure, like against this finger, and say what is yes, and maybe it snaps or maybe it stays, and then what is no, and then put pressure, and then it's the opposite. So, okay, and then the final thing is testing each other. So. This is maybe less practical because you need another person to practice on, but it is probably the most objective, at least in our minds, because we're using another person for this. So let's see if I could, Nicole, would you want to volunteer? Okay, so have the other person put one arm out in front. And just, it's probably easiest, actually, if you could stand this way, yeah. Easiest to stand like this and make it comfortable for yourself and say, okay, what is Nicole's yes? And put a little bit of pressure. Okay, it's holding. Oh yeah, resist. Tell them to resist, yes. And then what is a no? And her arm is falling. I'm using the same amount of pressure, but her arm is falling. So okay, thank you. So if you're the subject, use the same amount of pressure coming up, basically. What happens when they say what? And usually in the case is that it's strong for yes and weak for no, unless you're totally reverse polarity. I don't know, but in general, that's probably going to be what it is, yes and no. If you're the subject, use the same amount of pressure. What people tend to do is a yes, they'll be, oh yeah, that's strong. A no, they'll feel it weakening and they'll recruit all kinds of other muscles to, no, just focus on the deltoid, this muscle here. And if it weakens, it weakens. It's supposed to, basically. So that's part of it, basically. So try not to just be aware of any other muscles coming in to recruit to hold this up. And yeah, this is great if you want to test someone else, basically. Also the objectivity of it, you feel like you're influencing it less. So, all right, everybody.
Okay, thank you though.
Thank you so much for coming. Well, any final thoughts on testing each other? Any kind of insights? More objective. That's the benefit. It's more objective. So, all right. Well, great. I hope everyone learned a lot today. The key thing, if you are interested in getting better, the main thing is practice. It's not some sort of a gift or something, to know how to do this. It's really like anything else. It's just the discipline of practice. If there's one or two types of muscle testing that you kind of are leaning towards, right, no pun, maybe this is a leaning one, just practice it, at a store, and don't be hard on yourself or doubt yourself. Just practice. You'll see, it starts to gel after a certain point.
And thank you so much
Well, thank
for
you.
coming